Welcome to Follow Your Joy podcast, where intuition is the doorway to your wisdom, your genius, and your joy. I'm your host, Marla Diane, and I've been transforming creative entrepreneurs' lives for over 26 years. Through 2 businesses as a success coach and a business strategist, and prior to that, an entertainment publicist and a talent manager for 2 decades. It's time to make joy your inner GPS for life and business decisions rather than lean on your logic and reason first. You'll not only be following what is most authentic to you and for you, but you will live the beautiful life that's meant just for you. You'll come to learn that following your joy is a life and a business strategy. Listen in for inspiring entrepreneurial stories and solocasts that illuminate how by trusting your intuition, you'll create a fulfilling result. Want to learn how to access, trust, or up-level your intuition? Join me in the conversation to find out how. Creatives, welcome back. So, I follow this guy called Phil Good. You heard of him? He's on Instagram. And he calls himself a spiritual entrepreneur, but he's actually like a spiritual intuitive. You go to him for readings, and he has this quote that couldn't be, and I just found this yesterday, and it couldn't be more perfect for today's guest. So hear me out. He writes, "The more you try to fit into this world, the less you'll be able to create from your true and original frequency. In simple words, be yourself because everyone else is taken." That's the less spiritual version of that. But seriously, when you hear what I have to say about our today's guest, you're going to agree with me once you hear everything. So today's guest is a woman of many talents, and she operates at the top of her game in efficiency, taking fast action. I'm talking, she runs circles around people, intention and creativity, top of her game. How do I know? She's a good friend, and she's a former client. She does not mess around or mince her words. You will always know where you are at with her. She wears her heart on her sleeve, and she takes charge of her life. Need I add, she's a true Italian from New Jersey, back east. So I think you kind of get the vibe. Veronica Puleo is one of the more resourceful creatives I know. She employs her talents in innovative ways and has a rock solid work ethic. She could probably teach it. She's a performing artist who is the lead singer in her band, The Replicas Music, and co-founder and executive director of her booking agency of the same name. She's also a long-time outstanding personal brand and event photographer, actress, vocal coach, voiceover talent, recording artist, and in the last 2 years, she joined our friend and colleague Lee Dyson of Hey Mr. DJ in his roster of talents as DJ Vero for wedding and corporate events. Whew. I don't. It is a mouthful, people. Her personal website, veronicapuleo.com, says it well. Veronica's vocal talent encompasses a music agency, writing, recording original music, coaching others, and even a book. Superhuman? No. Remarkable? Yes. That's a great one. Her entry and breadth of knowledge into the events industry began in 2000, and she began in catering and photography, all the while performing with several bands in and around Los Angeles. From room acoustics to set design to lighting and staging, timeline and flow, Veronica has mastered the importance of sound, ambiance, and performance for all her clients. There's so much more to share as we unpack her story. Welcome, Veronica.
Thank you, Marla. I can't believe just hearing all that about me. I'm like, wow, is she fabulous?
Just like, how do you match that?
I'm tired. I'm exhausted hearing about me.
That's right. Like, I don't know where where do you get your energy, but you got to pack it up and sell it. All right. That's amazing. So, good. So before we dive in, I like to share how we met and a bit of our history. So you were recommended, and correct me if I'm, a little off here, but you were recommended by our other friend and colleague, David Krieger, DJ David Krieger, to do coaching.
Yes.
Which led us to meeting in person at an NPI dinner back in 2019. Right. And that eventually led to a few coaching programs.
I think it was 2018. It was 2018.
Was it 2018?
It was.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. It's been 5 years now.
5 years.
5 years. Yeah, so that led to then 2 programs, the Entrepreneurial Success Program and the Personal Branding Speaking Platform Program. And, we hung out for a while. That's for sure. We did a lot.
Yes, we did.
You were, from a coach's perspective, you were an awesome client because, one, you love personal development. You're super coachable and you learn so fast. I mean, you're just like, got it. What's next?
Thank you for that. I appreciate it because, I remember my grammar school and teachers were like, you're all over the place, kid. You need to focus. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think I'm just focused on a lot of things.
That's called a true creative, that's for sure. I mean, back then they didn't look at it that way, as if something was wrong with you. It's like, no, that's your brilliance. So
I'll take it.
Then I hired you as my personal brand photographer at the we went to the beautiful Langham Huntington Hotel in Pasadena. That was 2020. That was January.
I think it was right before the pandemic. Right before the lockdown. Yeah.
That's right. It was January 2020. In fact, I even think I know the date. It was like January 24th, something like that. And that became my rebrand in mid 2020 after my team put it together. So we have had a history besides the fun we've had.
Indeed, for sure. Yeah, I always mention your name to other creatives, and money story. Everybody's got their money story, and I remember you just saying something because you and I met right after I had a run-in with a certain event professional, names unmentioned, who stepped in my sale. And I use that term now because of you. And this person stepped in my sale and took a sale away from me. It was a certain planner who thought I was gouging their client. And I was just really appalled and saddened. And I met you, and we went through that issue together. And that's when I signed on with you. And so I am very quick to use that term when other event professionals want to maybe step into my sale. I say, well, I don't sell your product, so please let me sell mine. And then as soon as the client signs on the dotted line, I will turn them back over to you. And that is what you taught me. And it has really changed my business. Because look, in the social world, especially, planners a lot of times seem to think that they need to do it all, including negotiating every contract for their client. But I have a lot of moving parts with live music. Live music is a beast.
Yeah.
And production, the sound production, and and what is needed is that's my zone of genius.
Right.
It's like planning is their zone of genius, and they know how to pick the linens and everything, and they know about all the pretty stuff, and that's not my zone. But by all means, I would never try and sell their services. So it was really important that you taught me that. It really just helped me soften the way I speak to planners about, hey, please let me do what I do, because I'm good at this.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a thank you, first of all. That's a wonderful feedback, right? Is that I see it as a collaboration.
Yeah,
Right? This is a true collaboration, more than what is known in the industry. Of course, it's collaboration, but when it behind the scenes, as you're putting this together, no one but you is best to sell your services.
that's right. That's right.
And, uh, I'm sure there's going to be people in the industry that may disagree with me. That's fine. Absolutely,
Right.
you can.
Yeah,
But vendors have their genius. They know how to sell them themselves and at their rate.
that's right. Their
Let's
rate,
let
because often we hear, well,
yeah.
so and so charges XYZ, and I'm like, well, I'm not so and
Well,
so.
yeah. I mean,
You know,
that's a whole other
that's a whole other
conversation. Yeah,
that's a whole other
that's
podcast.
oh my God, that's a whole other podcast. All about my qualifying sales system. Yeah.
That's right.
Um, yeah, I mean, without going into details, so we can talk more about you and your background and so forth, it's I'm gonna again say it's a collaboration.
That's right.
Everybody has their strengths, and it's like I see it as the planner opening the door to the vendor,
Yeah,
to her client, and says, please go have a discussion
that's right.
and let me know how it goes. And then we can put this all together. It's that simple.
It's all a collaboration.
Yeah.
And um I always say, I was recently interviewed for Voyage LA, and
Oh,
they had asked me how I had gotten started, and I know you're not asking me this question yet, but just say, I did start out as a cater waiter.
yeah. Right.
And this all comes full circle with what we just started this discussion with, is that when I first moved to Los Angeles in 99 and I did my first event here, and I was looking around to see the vast production and to see all the jobs that are created by the event industry,
Mhm.
I was on cloud nine. The first thing I said was, I'll never be without a job. I'll always have food on my table, because the event industry is chock full of different creative avenues. And it was wonderful to see this first production in 99 of all of it coming together.
Mhm.
Um, and it's magical. It really is. I mean, what we're doing is so magical, especially if we all leave our egos at the door and collaborate and
Right.
have a good time and realize that each and every one of us has such an important job to give the client the magical day that they want, whether it be social or corporate.
Right.
And it's just important to not step on each other's toes, but lift each other up so that we can make this magical day come to fruition.
Yeah.
It's a collaboration, just like you said.
Yeah.
And respecting each other. Oh, such a big thing. So, and you notice it in our industry, where a lot of people do work with the same people because they understand the respect, the mutual collaboration and respect. And so I've been lucky enough to have my repeat planners who always work with me and know that they're getting an incredible product and
Yeah.
professionalism.
Yeah.
And fun to work with. I'm fun to work with.
You are, and your work, like I said, your work ethic it's really top notch. I mean, I know this from behind the scenes with you, coaching you, knowing you. I'm not just saying this. It is,
I appreciate it.
no, seriously.
I appreciate it.
They will get efficiency, and these are the top qualities of, I believe, of a vendor. It's like they're worth every part of their rate, and you're not going to have to worry about them. And they're probably going to ask for maybe a little more than others as far as, behind the scenes, because they're efficient. You're
That's right.
efficient.
There's so many
I
cliches.
know.
You
All
get
right.
what you pay for. I mean, we could go on and on. The cliche.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the biggest, but it is important to always mention it. Sometimes people just don't get that. It's like you do. I thank you. I love efficiency. I love dotting my I's and crossing my T's, but just, getting right to the point and getting it done. And,
Yeah.
which is why, I had to efficiency. That's the reason why I wrote my book. Because I found myself repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And I said, well, maybe I should just put this in a book. Now, maybe nobody will read it. We'll see. And it has gotten read, thank God.
Okay.
People
Yeah.
do. I recently had a corporate event producer hit me up, and they had purchased my book on Amazon, and they contacted me and said, can we buy a digital copy from you and use it as a training tool for our new corporate event experience planners? And I'm like, absolutely, let's figure this out. So it tickles me that the book got read and it's being used as a training tool. It's just so validating.
Yeah. What's the name of it, Veronica?
It is Be a Rock Star Live Music Producer, a guide for special event planners.
And what's the premise about yeah.
Well, what ended up happening was, because of the repetition, even though I would go on site visits, a lot of times I'd show up the day of an event, and the big trifecta at the top is power, staging, and lighting. When you're dealing with a live dance band, a live rock band, obviously when you go see a band at the Forum, I mean, this is not like, hey, go plug into that wall, Fleetwood Mac. No, there are spider boxes all over the place. And again, a lot of planners don't really want to dive into this stuff because it's geeky and it's not really pretty at all. It's this ugly electrical box. But I would show up after a site visit, I'd show up on an event, and a young planner would say, oh, you can just go plug into that wall over there. And I said, well, wait a second. I had a site visit with you. I specifically said I need 3 20-amp circuits of power in a spider box right next to the stage. How many amps are in that wall? And said planner would always say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, can you get the site engineer here so we can discuss? And then it starts to just waste time. So I had to write this book it's interesting, Marlo. It cracks me up about the book.
What?
It's just that when I still get the same from people like, do you really need a stage? I say, hey, I wrote a book about this. And suddenly I have more validity. I'm more believable because I wrote a book about it. And they say, oh, she wrote a book about it. I guess we better get her a stage.
Okay, well, at least you have the book. All right. That's good.
It's fabulous.
So let's go back to your story, right?
Yeah.
Let's go back to, the question I was about to ask, which is terrific. You've already kind of began, which is, where did this vibrant creative life begin? Back in 99 when you moved here from back east. So you kind of started as a photographer and did you say a server with a caterer?
Well, I moved out here to act. Let's be honest. I think most
Ah,
people move out to Los Angeles
yeah.
to be actors, singers.
Mm.
But I did. I moved out here. I was acting. I was a professional swing and salsa dancer and instructor. Uh, and I was singing and songwriting, all while having a camera in my hands as well.
Mm.
And I did, I did a couple of national commercials. But what happened, Marla, I think you may remember the actors strike, the writers strike, all happened around the same time. I also had this like vast curly hair. Most casting directors had no idea where to put me. They said, "What are you? Are you Middle Eastern? Are you Italian? Are you Spanish? What are you? What is that hair? Can you straighten it?"
Oh, what
And
is that hair?
what is that hair? We don't know what to do with that hair. So, now you watch TV and everybody has curly hair. But when I moved to this state, no, everybody's, oh, can you straighten it before the audition? Oh, you have a callback. Can you straighten it again?
Oh,
And nobody
geez.
taught me about wigs, right? So I
Ah,
learned about wigs in 2015. I love wigs. But
yeah.
but I moved out here to act.
Okay.
And after those actor strikes, and I did the according to Jim's show, I had my little 15 minutes of fame, but all the while working in catering and bartending and taking pictures. And
Mhm.
so I just started to really focus on my own music and taking pictures. I photographed this one band, and this young guitarist's sister was getting married, and he said, "You're going to photograph my sister's wedding." And this was in 2000, and I was like, "I don't do weddings." He goes, "Well, you do now." And so
I
I
love that.
it was my 12-year career starting there. Uh,
Yeah.
there it was. I was a wedding photographer,
Mm,
and reluctant wedding photographer. I never loved it.
mm.
I had the clients that I did absolutely adore. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I love photography. It is a passion of mine.
Yes.
It always has been since
Yes.
age 13.
Yeah.
I stole my brother's camera and that was it. Um, like Marcello, you're not getting it back.
I know. It's
Um,
mine now.
it's mine now. But so that's really what ended up happening. And then in 2011,
Mhm.
um, Michael, my husband, and I had decided to start the Replicas Music. He, as you know, is an incredible drummer.
Ah, of
And
course.
he was working with several bands out here in LA. He moved out here in 09, 10
Mhm.
years after me.
Yeah.
And he started working with a lot of different LA bands and Orange County bands. And while I was still doing Vero Photo, he said, V, I think we should do our own thing. And I said, yeah, I think we should. I think we do a great job at it, because he and I were in a rock band together in college in New Jersey.
Mm.
I've known Mike since high school. We've
Oh
been
my
friends,
gosh.
we were friends for 20 years before we got together, but we've always known each other as musicians.
Ah,
And so when he got into my life and saw that I was just doing photography and singer-songwriter stuff, he said,
he's like, oh no, we
yeah,
gotta
he's like, we
get
need
you
to get you
back on
back on
stage.
stage.
Yeah, get you back on stage. What are you doing behind a camera? Come on now.
Oh
So
yeah,
he was an inspiration to you.
he's always been an inspiration to me. I don't know anybody who's more disciplined in music than that man. He
Mm,
is not he's not only an incredible drummer, and but he's an incredible music educator. And I became a music educator later in life, and really I would listen through the door and how he would train. He is so loving but stern. He's got this perfect blend. And so when I started teaching vocals, I adopted his style of teaching. He's just such a love. He's really,
yeah.
but we're very serious about
Hmm.
music.
Hmm. Yeah.
You can't phone it in, kids. Uh, but Michael, he said, let's do this. So while I was in my last year of Vero Photo, we started the Replicas Music, and I overlapped, and I decided I didn't want to photograph weddings anymore unless it was for a senior couple.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I still photograph these like third
Oh,
and fourth weddings of senior couples.
oh,
Oh, it's
oh, how
fabulous. They're my
sweet.
favorite photographic wedding client ever.
Oh,
Because they don't hold everything so precious at that age.
yeah. Well, they've been around a while
They've
versus,
been around.
of
They're
course.
like
Sure.
flowers schmowers. Let's just, like, let's just get married and get some good pictures here, you know.
Yeah.
But Michael was like, let's do this. So we started the replicas January of 2011.
Hmm. Yeah.
And gosh, we started with the one band, the flagship band. We called it the replicas.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we were just going to be represented by another company.
Hmm.
And as it turned out, that other company was not interested in representing us. And I said, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to represent ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, I started getting calls for, do you have jazz trios? And do you have classical instruments? Do you have a guitar duo? And I just said yes.
Yeah.
And I started to put these amazing musicians out there. And lo and behold, that's how it became the Replicas Music and Productions. Now our flagship band is called The Main Attraction. And that's the
Uh-huh.
one I still am on stage with. But I do have a slew of an incredible talent on my roster. So it doesn't always have to be me on that stage.
Good. Yeah, no, you have a very, very abundant roster.
I do. And I'm very
Yeah.
grateful to all of them. I couldn't
Yeah.
do it without them.
Yeah.
They're so wonderful to work with. And I believe me, I've kissed a lot of frogs in the industry. I know artists are, and I know artists are we're a peculiar bunch sometimes.
Well, it's who you are as artists, it just comes with the territory. So this leads me to the next question, which you were starting to say about your artists, is what brings you the most joy in what you do?
Working with the most amazing musicians.
That's right.
I just love, and the ones who
Mhm.
do what I can't do. When I watch my classical strings do their thing,
Mhm.
I just marvel. Oh, it's so beautiful. I mean, these people live, eat, breathe, and sleep music. Nobody is doing a 9 to 5 and doing music. This is it. This is their 9 to 5.
Mhm.
And they're also, a lot of them are music educators. A lot of them are touring musicians and session players. So this is their life. And I get to work with these creatively talented musicians who also write their own music for TV and film. And I get to hang out with this, they're just magical human beings. They're wonderful souls.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the ones who weren't such wonderful souls, I sent them on their merry way. And then they went and found their souls and they came back, some of them. But yes, it's very important because a lot of people who do go on tour,
Mhm.
um, some of them can develop this chip because they have this resume. But when they come back to me and they go, hey, we'd love to work with you. I say, hey, yeah, that's great. But there's no roadie, right? And you are your own roadie on these
Right.
corporate and wedding things. You don't have a tour bus or a truck bringing
Right.
your gear. You have to do it yourself. And oh, by the way, it's not about us. It's about the client.
Mhm.
About the client. We got to take care of them. We are not divas. We don't do the diva thing. We are nice people working together with other nice people.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. So share a story, and this has to do with the premise of this podcast about following your joy, listening to your intuition first before you take actions. And what's your story? One of many I know, where you followed your intuition and created a joyful, fulfilling result.
Ah,
Yeah. So big,
that's a big one.
I know it's a big one for you because I know it. I saw you go through it. Yeah. So listen up, everybody. This is some transformation that happened.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, Marla, I mean, it's hard to answer that question. It's You got my head spinning on this one because there's so much I want to say. First of all, I'm going to bring it back to you and thank you. Um, look, I was a yogi many years before we met, but that fell by the wayside. And then you and I met and you got me back into meditation.
Right.
And oh, I could cry. I mean, it changed my life. And since late 2018, I've been a regular meditator. And
Nice.
it helps me slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a practice because I wasn't this person in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And it has helped me really listen to my gut.
Mm-hmm.
So it's helped me learn to say no. It's helped me be okay to say we're not the right fit. And it's incredible how much it changed me. And when I see people spiraling and spinning plates like I once did, I'm like, oh gosh, if only you could meditate. Please meditate. Start meditating, because it does help you listen to every part of the surrounding.
So how did connect the dots for us? How did that help you during COVID?
Well, COVID, wow. COVID was one of the most profound times in my life.
Yeah.
I'm sure this probably speaks to a lot of people, but oh, did I need to stop? And the only way I could stop was obviously for me was a pandemic, because I am go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And COVID helped me just go, hey, the whole world stopped and you're not going to be playing live events. So what are you going to do? Wow, I got even more quiet than I ever did before. I meditated even more. I sat there and said, okay, what have you been ignoring in your life? What haven't you done for yourself? Because I am all about my clients and my husband and everyone around me. And I wasn't taking care of me.
Yeah.
And so COVID helped me just stop and go, okay, well, what are you going to do? Well, I finished my Italian album, which is something that was sitting on a shelf for 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
I had started that album. It was an EP, 5 songs, and I just never got through it. And finally, I'm like, well, you have no excuse. You have nothing but time. So I finished that. That's on Spotify. I wrote a couple of original tunes as well. And more importantly, I missed my musicians more than anything.
Yeah.
And I had to get into virtual technology. I had to. Did I have to? I mean, no, I could have sat there and done nothing. Yeah. But I just said, no, I can't do that. I got to figure out virtual technology. And not only did it help just to have something to focus on, but I ended up booking corporate clients and doing corporate concerts virtually with a 5-camera setup. And I had my whole crew in here. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I also picked up DJing because I had time.
Yep.
I had time. So I don't know what it is about me having to always try things. I guess because I've never been into drugs. I'm like, my drug is trying another creative avenue. That's
a good point. That is you. That is your drug of choice.
My drug of choice is all the arts in the world.
Yeah.
So, but am I answering your question? I hope.
Yeah. I mean, you are. And the other part of it that I want you to share is what it did for you personally in making choices about overwhelm.
Yeah. Well, I think I kind of said it before about learning to say no.
Yeah.
I mean, that word no, it is a positive word. It really is. And, you don't have to be like, no. It's more like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you, universe. I don't think this client is right for me. No, I don't think I need to be in that crowd of people right now. And yes, slowing down is a beautiful thing. And
Yeah.
I never knew what the word slow was.
Right.
I really didn't know the meaning of that until 2020, 2021. And when the world opened back up again, I said, no more crazy hustle. And I think I'd mentioned
Yeah.
that in 2019. So I ran my numbers this year. I was like, all right, it's January 2nd. I'm going to run my numbers. I'm on Honeybook and I'm like, it has all the graphs and things. And I love that program. Anyway, I ran all my numbers for the last 6 years, and I noticed that in 2019, I had only sold $16,000 more in music than I did in 2022, which in 2022, I vowed not to go to every networking event, not to showcase, not to run around like a chicken without a head, and just slow down,
Lean back.
lean back, let the universe bring you the right clients of abundance and affluence and oh, I really learned how to say no in 2022. And then I looked at the numbers and I'm like, ain't that something? You only sold $16,000 less than pre-COVID. That is pretty spectacular. And I did it in a pretty stressless way.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Mm-hmm.
it was
Which
fantastic.
is the
And
point, which is what I wanted you to really, point out
yeah,
is that's a great result that shows the leaning back, the trusting, and really all that crazy busyness. Is it really ROI?
that's right. It's quality of life, isn't it?
It is. Yep.
And we're getting older. I mean, I'm Sicilian, so I go morbid all the time. I'm like, well, I could be dead tomorrow, so I don't want to stress myself out. I want to
Right.
live in
Quality.
bliss and happiness and
Yeah.
kindness to myself first and foremost, so that I could be kind to everyone else around me. If I'm a stress case, I'm gonna be a nasty person, and I don't want to be nasty. Who likes that?
Well, it's not enjoyable to be in that space regardless, even when you're by
Heck no.
yourself. It's like that's quality of life. It's just not good. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, awesome. Beautiful. Okay. And I'm curious just to see if you have a quick answer for this before we kind of wrap it up. Well, how do you tell the difference between intuition and logic?
Oh, I don't know that I have a quick answer for that one, but intuition and logic, because I do operate mostly in my head. That's where I start. It was always up here
Mm.
first,
Yep.
and then over the last 4 or 5 years, to me, intuition is right in the pit of my gut.
Mm,
That's where it is for me. Logic is up in my brain.
that's right.
And somehow the two shall meet in my heart and help
Mm,
me make the most solid decisions for my life and for those I love around me.
right. I love it. Well done. Yeah, you lean on, and that's what many do, is you lean on, and you need to lean on the body. How is the body feeling? Right. To make a choice, because I'm an advocate, hence the purpose of the podcast is I aspire for you to ask your intuition first about decisions as you're running your business, right? As you're running your life,
Mm-hmm.
instead of our default, which it's pretty unconscious. It's okay. You can learn how not to be unconscious about it. Instead of the unconscious, you immediately go to logic, practicality, linear, logical. It's like, whoa, what about everything from the neck down,
That's right.
which is the heart space, which is your intuition is always, always going to be your best answer to most anything in your life because it's meant for you only.
Mm-hmm.
Versus looking outside yourself for an answer that may not be appropriate for you. It may logically seem smart, but it's not meant for you in your evolution. Right? From small to larger, type of questions.
Right.
So yes, is that you're right. It all lands it's in the heart area, the heart chakra. Keep asking the intuition, get quiet enough, take a deep breath, get away from the busyness. Because what you also do in that, everybody, and this is a ask and it is given, right? Esther Hicks and Abraham teaching, which is when we're not in meditation, we're busy, crazy, we're in our heads, we're typically in what is called resistance. Mm-hmm. So when you get quiet and you go into, whether it's a meditative space or you get quiet enough to ask, you're in now an allowing. You're in an allowing space because now it's open and now you're ready to receive.
That's right.
I mean, it's as simple as that. It's like, stop being so busy in your head, slow down, quiet. Yeah.
Absolutely. And don't overpack your schedules. Oh my goodness.
Oh God, I could talk forever on that one too. Please. I mean,
I used to be that person, you know.
I know that.
I won't do it now. Now I'm like, I look at my schedule and there's an open day. I'm like, oh, there's an open day.
Oh, fabulous. I don't have to
fill it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes. You know, on a quick note before we finish up here, one of the things I bring up all the time, whether it's my group coaching or one-on-one, is about calendaring. Meaning, I don't understand, and this has to do with actually, you know me in self-care, right? How yes. I'm big about your self-care, right? Why would anybody book a meeting at the hour that the other meeting before it ends? Why would you put yourself in that stressful situation? Not to mention putting the person that you're in the meeting with at a disadvantage, because 5 minutes before you're done with that meeting, you're already thinking of the next one and you're trying to hurry up, and now you've lost the person. And there's all this stress going on. I'm like, the whole thing absolutely is a no-no.
Absolutely. I agree.
No-no.
We know a lot of the same people, but there are friends of mine in the industry that are just jam-packing their schedules and losing themselves in that. And definitely, you know, and I feel it too, you know, especially when I'm out to lunch or dinner with somebody who's in the industry and they're constantly looking at their phone, and I'm like, oh, the human connection is gone. You know, I just really, and this is a whole other podcast, people. We could talk about, you know, social media. You know, I'm a poster and ghoster. I actually have my VA posts for me. I don't care who likes it, doesn't like it. I just can't. I need to be, you know, more present in myself so that I could be more present for my friends, my family, my dogs, my home, and my clients. I can't stress it enough. I really wish for my friends and my colleagues to slow down and not overpack their schedules and not go back to back with meetings, because having at least a 15-minute break in between, at least.
Well, mine is 30.
30.
My solution, in other words, well, then if you don't do that, what do you do? Give yourself 30 minutes
in between.
Trust me, your life isn't going to fall off the planet Earth. That person, you know, whoever, and
so clocking out at 6.
It's 30 minutes. So you have a chance to take a breath, maybe go to the restroom, have something to eat, be present on your next call instead of rushing into it.
That's right.
And more importantly, your self-care.
Absolutely. Yeah. And knowing, and, you know, again, back to, you know, that boundaries and know, I know before we started working together, I started clocking out at 6 p.m. Okay. And I got really good at it after we started working together. And now I even end sooner. If I don't have any Zooms and I've already finished my emails, I end at 4:30, then I come into the studio and I practice vocals.
Nice.
And get, you know, and then have longer time to get ready for, you know, one of my students, practice my guitar. But yeah, it's nice to clock out. When I first started the replicas, Mike was like, it's 11:30. Why are you responding to emails?
I know.
And I'm like, because I'm batshit nuts. How about I stop that?
It's called boundaries again. Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, totally.
I'm done. Monday,
Okay.
Friday.
All right. So, lastly, based on your experience, which is vast in many, many years, just give one key advice to our creatives listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
About their life, about business. What?
Go easy on yourselves, please. Yeah, we have to bring our A game. I get it, but breathe through the process and try not to adopt anybody else's anxieties.
Mm-hmm.
Meditate, stay connected with yourself, and know that you are enough and you are on the right path.
Yeah.
You are all beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people.
Amen. Amen. It's about being present. Being present. I love that. Thank you. So, where can, of course, people get in touch with you, and what little goodie do you have to offer?
Oh, well, you can find me at thereplicasmusic.com and veronicapuleo.com. And the first 5 people to reach out via either of those contact forms, I will send you a copy of my book, and I'll even sign it and write something special in it.
Love it. The Rockstar book. There you go. All right.
Thank
and you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, all of those. Yeah.
I am everywhere, and Spotify.
And Spotify. Okay.
Yes.
Terrific. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Always always fun to have a chat with you. Always lively.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my pleasure. All right, everyone. So until next time, as you work and live, what do? Always follow your joy. It's trying to tell you something. It's not just a good feeling. It's a life and a business strategy. And listen to your intuition. It knows best. Good. All right. Take care. Thanks for listening in. You can find more entrepreneurial stories and resources at marladiane.com. And while you're there, enjoy my 3 free downloads to up-level your business and your life. How about you take a screenshot of this episode and tag me on Instagram by sharing your highlights of what you learned today. I'd love to connect there with you. Until next episode, take care.